know what time it is. That's right, we're going to better know a commander. And this week, we've got 4 amazing ones. 2 of our Innistrad angels, Sigarda and Avacyn, Angel of Hope. And 2 very scary monsters, the Swarmlord from Warhammer 40,000 and Ghave, Guru of Spores. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment. Those are the absolute best ways to support the channel. Let me know which of these decks you would sleeve up. Alright, let's get to the deck techs. In hindsight, I should have given this card more love when it was released earlier this year. Now don't get me wrong, this is definitely a contender for Art of the Year, but I think there's some real play here too. We're talking Sigarda, Font of Blessings. Take a moment to appreciate the art. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. Other permanents you control have hexproof. Okay, that's amazing. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. Awesome. And you can cast angel spells and human spells from the top of your library. So we're building this deck with humans and angels and humans. It's going to be great. So great, in fact, that other than mana rocks and ramp, there's only 2 non-creature spells in the whole deck. We're playing Vivien, Champion of the Wilds. This is going to let you cast your humans and angels from the top of your deck with flash. This card just continues to be an overperformer for me. And just in case Sigarda gets removed, we're also playing Vivien, Monsters Advocate to allow us to continue to play our creatures from the top of our library. Now, we have beautiful art with Sigarda, Font of Blessings. So I'm just going to show you a selection of angels and humans that I think have beautiful art. I think they're effective too, don't get me wrong, but this deck is just going to be an absolute artistic statement piece. We've got Angel of Glory's Rise. This card's going to be an absolute blowout. You may or may not remove a bunch of creatures if there's zombies out there. That's like an Innistrad flavor thing. But you will have humans in the graveyard, so we might as well bring them all back. We've got Angel of Jubilation. This is an anthem for your team. We've got the borderless version of Battle Angels of Tyr. Myriad is awesome. How about Ameria Shepherd? We're trying to play as many planes as possible, so this landfall trigger is just going to be unbelievable. The lighting on Glorious Protector is amazing, and it's going to protect your team too, so that seems like a great angel to include. I love the name of this card. I hadn't really found a deck where I could put it in, but now it definitely fits here. Radiant Solar is just going to get the job done for you. Sarah Paragon is the Lurrus we deserve, I guess. Card's great though. Obviously, we're going to play Giada to try and ramp into our angels. Now, this isn't Sigarda's Pilgrim, but Avacyn's Pilgrim will make us mana. Why not? The Midnight Hunt Sigarda, Champion of Light, is great. Gives your humans +1/+1. And it has the Coven ability, and we're going to have humans with all kinds of different powers and toughnesses. Let's look at some humans now. I love the art on Anointed Peacekeeper. It's going to make someone's important spell cost a little bit more mana as well. Obviously, we're playing Athalia, Guardian of Thraben. There's like 14 or 15 different printings at this point, but you got to pick the one that's the most beautiful for you. I like this one. You might as well play Thalia, Heretic Cathar as well. I like the promo version, but also the Secret Lair 30th Anniversary Calendar version is beautiful. Archetype of Courage has classic Greek-inspired art. First Strike is a real cool thing to have. Augur of Autumn gives us another way to look at the top card of our library and play spells from the top of our library. How about we get the best looking Azusa Lost But Seeking version in the deck? Play extra lands, you might as well. You're going to need them. Angels cost a lot of mana. You may or may not want Crimson Acolyte in the deck, but I just wanted to show you how cool classic human art could be. This has been errated to a human cleric, and protection from red's not terrible. If you have enough mana, you can protect against Blasphemous Act. We're also going to play Ichneumon Druid, another human. Amazing classic art too. Catilda Dawnheart Prime gets us some mana ramp, turning all of our creatures into mana dorks. And that art, like I said, this deck is about beauty. Final card here for you, Sylvan Hierophant. This is really slow Eternal Witness, but the art's amazing, so we might as well play it. So there you go, lots of humans, lots of angels. I went with aesthetically pleasing art, but you could take this any way you like it. You could lean way more into angels or way more into humans. The point is we want to get a ton of creatures on the battlefield and we want to swing and beat down those opponents. Hope this helps. I don't think people understand how absolutely obnoxious this deck can be. Sure, in our eyes, Avacyn is the Angel of Hope, but in our opponent's eyes, she's the Angel of Despair, and I like it. She is flying, she is vigilant, she's indestructible. Other permanents you control have indestructible. Boom. It's very simple, straightforward. Let's break it. There are 5 key cards in the deck. First, Wrath of God. Second, Hour of Revelation. Next, Doomscar. Next, Catastrophe. And finally, boom, Armageddon. Yeah, this deck is looking to make an empty board, swing with an 8/8, and keep the good times rolling. Now, 8 mana commanders aren't exactly the most efficiently costed, so we need some good cards to get there. How about Throne of Eldraine? Choose a color, this taps for 3. Beautiful. We've got Arcane Signet, Thran Dynamo, Caged Sun. That's a pretty classic set of ramp cards. Recently featured Monologue Tax would help with the budget a bit and help us stabilize early in the game. Go get yourself a Jeweled Lotus. Avacyn deserves it. I'm thinking we're going to have lots of white pips on our cards, so Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is a good fit here. Recently reprinted Extraplanar Lens seems good. I'm a big fan of Nyx Lotus. I don't care that this enters tapped. Obviously, our mono-white deck needs Pearl Medallion. When you activate Larry Nevin's Disc and Avacyn is on the battlefield, it gets to stay on the battlefield. So that's repeatable board wipes. People like playing with that, right? And let's give Avacyn a sword. Why not? World Slayer. You're casting Avacyn for 8. You might as well pay 5 the next turn and equip this for another 5. Get in there, destroy everything that isn't yours. Simple. We also get to play Herald of War, an angel that is kind of like Ramp, maybe? Things are going to be dying all over the place, so we might as well play Sarah Paragon to bring some stuff back. And a white counter spell as your whipped cream and cherry on top. Rebuff the wicked. So we've got Avacyn, Angel of Hope, ruining your opponent's days. Maybe not the first deck you bring out when you introduce yourself to people, huh? Hope this helps. I'm in the mood to build a +1/+1 counters deck. You with me? It's Warhammer 40,000. It's Magic the Gathering. It's the Swarmlord. This thing is terrifying looking. And every time you cast it, it gets bigger when it comes into play. Most importantly, whenever a creature you control with counters on it dies, you draw a card. So this thing is an engine in the command zone, and we love an engine in the command zone. So let's lean into that. You might be thinking, oh, that's Hydras, or Tyranids, or artifact creatures. But no, we're just going to take advantage of a bunch of enchantments and put counters on any creature that we want to. So that means we get Hardened Scales, and this is the art you want to play. I think the Precon actually comes with a copy of Hardened Scales, but that art's lame. Gotta try Triceratops. We also get Ozolith the Shattered Spire, another copy of Hardened Scales. We're also going to play the Ozolith before it was the Shattered Spire. This is going to get to move our counters around a bunch. Might as well treat yourself to a doubling season. One of the cards that comes in the Precon is Biophagus. We're making mana, we're spending it on creatures, and they're getting counters as they come in. That's a great deal. Putting counters on creatures make them modified. So Kodama of the West Tree is going to start ramping us super quick. Hey, let's put way more counters on our creatures and play Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. We're in red and green, so we get to play Grumgully the Generous. We're playing non-human creatures, so we're getting +1/+1 counters. A little bit of graveyard hate and a little bit of extra activated ability action. Agatha's Soul Cauldron's going to do it for us. The Swarmlord can hold a sword. So let's play Sword of Truth and Justice. Put a counter on something and proliferate. That seems good. Some classic Nissa cards now. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. That -2 is a counter for all of your creatures. That's a great deal. And how about we double our mana and play Nissa, Who Shakes the World? More counters on our things with Rhythm of the Wild. Great reprint here. New card, Court of Garenbrig. Seems like a good thing to do. And an absolute powerhouse of an enchantment we get to play with Tribute of the World Tree. If we do decide on small creatures, this thing's going to pump them up, and it's going to make it worthwhile for when they die. How about some +1 counters over time with some awesome art? Invigorating Hot Springs is going to do that for us. And let's just make the Swarmlord give out counters as well with Master Chef. And finally, we've got a great card, Inexorable Tide. Whenever you cast a spell, proliferate. That means as we cast things, we're going to have giant creatures get more gianter. So the Swarmlord, tons of +1 counters, fire our creatures in for combat, support the deck with blue, draw cards when things go sideways. Seems good. Hope this helps. There is nothing more frustrating than losing to a token deck. So let's build one and frustrate your friends. We're talking Ghave, Guru of Spores, and this Fungus Shaman will give your opponents a headache. So right away, I'm sure the Ghave players out there will say, yes, this deck is amazing. Look at those activated abilities. And they'll probably also have tons of combos for us. I don't know what they are, but I have lost to them before. So we're going to lean into Saproling tokens here, and hopefully all the Ghave aficionados out there can tell us all about the awesome combos that we're missing out on. First, new card, Roaming Throne. Play it named Fungus. And now we have a fungus creature with Ward 2 that's going to Panharmonicon any of our triggers from Ghave. We're in Avacyn, so we're getting white as well. That means O'Hare Talk gets to be a part of the deck. Let's make triple Spore tokens. Sorry, Saproling tokens. Obviously, we're going to play Michaeloth. The Devour 2 is sweet, but really we just want to get as many upkeeps with this thing on the battlefield as possible to dump out tons and tons and tons of Saprolings. Here's a sacrifice ability for us with Namada, Primeval Warden. We're going to have tons of Saprolings, so this is going to be able to draw us cards and take out other things on the battlefield. Aura Mutation, 2 mana for your disenchant is a little much, but if you take something out that's worthwhile, you're going to get tons of Saprolings from it as well. Slimefoot the Stowaway, he may be a fungus, but he's making Saprolings. You have an infinite mana outlet here to use, and if you can sacrifice Saprolings, you get to deal damage. Tendershoot Dryad, let's make all those Saprolings big. The best thing about this card is it triggers on each upkeep. Yeah, that's right, each upkeep. There's going to be lots of +1/+1 counters in this deck, so let's get Aether Revolt Classic Winding Constrictor into the deck. Obviously, with counters in this deck, we're going to play Agatha's Soul Cauldron. That's just a no-brainer. We're going to give ourselves a one-sided Concordant Crossroads and play Tyvar Jubilant Brawler. That static ability is awesome, and the minus ability is essentially draw a card. Great times. This deck gets to play Tyam Luminous Enigma, and although this is a pretty convoluted CEDH deck, this deck gets to play Tyam Luminous Enigma. It's a pretty convoluted CEDH deck, but straightforward here. Pay 3 mana, take 3 counters off of things, bring stuff back from our graveyard, and that's at instant speed. So that's a nice touch. How about a sacrifice payoff with LSL Core Sadistic Pilgrim? This thing is an absolute house and should just see more play. We're going to make tons of mana with Phyrexian Altar, because those Saproling tokens, they're easy to rip out of the ground. And as always, the best card in our token deck, Skull Clamp. Give that Saproling the clamps, draw 2 cards, repeat. Keep going. So, like I said, you're probably even going to just stumble into wicked combos in a Ghave Guru Spores deck. But with Skull Clamp and Phyrexian Altar and payoffs like LSL Core, there's no reason not to build this deck and go after it. Just make sure you got lots of extra cardboard, because there are a ton of tokens in this deck. Hope this helps.